All right, folks, welcome into another edition of the Global Learning Commons. If you want to take a second to introduce yourself in the chat, who you are, where you're coming from, and perhaps the reason you're joining us this morning, we have an incredible opportunity to hear from Brent Maddin, who is the executive director at Arizona State University's Next Education Workforce. And folks, I cannot tell you how excited I am. I just had a chance to meet with Brent and some of his colleagues a few weeks ago down in Phoenix. Got to hear what they're doing around team teaching. And folks, I was a teacher for 10 years and I was always in my own classroom. And I love teaching, I love the kids, but I can also say that it can feel lonely. It can feel like you're on an island. And what Brent and his team are doing, both from a research side, but also from a practical side and working with schools, it's just incredible work. And I'm so excited to hear them. And Brent, we'll get to you in just a second. But before we do, I just wanted to center a little bit of gratitude as we enter the season of Thanksgiving for all of you. You're spending time here. We'll have an hour with you this morning, but also the work that you're doing, centering students in the work that you're doing, and centering the adults who are making the student experiences happen. We can create the environments that we know are holistically safe and empowering and enriching, and make it so that the people who are in the schools want to come to school. Joy and collaboration and meaningful work. It's all of that. And you guys are doing it. So thank you for doing the work that you do and for being here with us this morning. So without further ado, here is Brent Maddin sharing about team teaching. Brent.
Nathan, thanks so much for having me and fielding generally. Uh, what a pleasure and seeing some familiar faces. Robert, Liz, Nick, uh, Josh. This is an all-star group. I can tell by who's already showed up here on the screen. I'm really excited to spend the next hour with you. So without further ado, I'm going to share a couple of slides and. And here we go. So hopefully I'm broadcasting from a car today, which is not ideal in terms of physical space. But Nathan, looking good. Good volume. Yeah, I got the thumbs up. All right.
You're all good.
Here we go. Strategic school staffing. I'm going to make a presenter's argument that this is a better way of organizing adults around kids, and it has huge implications for our learning space design. One of the questions that you're going to have right out of the gate is, "Hey, Brent, can I get all these delicious slides?" And the answer, of course, is a resounding uh, absolutely. And so what I want us to start with and get ready to get into the chat here is which of these four educators would you want for your own child or grandchild, a niece, a nephew, a nibbling, a neighbor kid? Um, it's helpful. Let's ground ourselves in third grade. Ready? Here it is. Behind door number one, 25, teacher A, 15 years. Traditional behind door B, still also exactly 25 students because that's how ratios work. They're in their fourth year. They're an alt-cert program. They're an engineer by training. They love science and technology. They're fine at teaching reading, fine at teaching reading. Teacher C, also 25 kids because again ratios. Second year of teaching. They're in a residency program. YouTube crafter. They love the science of reading. They got some of the best training right out the gate. They're fine, fine at teaching math. And then finally, behind door number C, letter C, also 25 students. This person is a career switcher, perhaps. They're non-certified. They're in an alt-cert program. They've done a bunch of camp counseling for years. They connect amazingly with young people. And of course, the question is, forced choice. Who do you pick? Take a second, drop it into the chat on the count of three, just a single letter, A, B, C, D, go. Thanks for lighting it up. Janelle, look at you. Yep, Jessica, Cassie or Casey. Yeah, okay, interesting. A, B, C, A, B, D. I see. Of course, you're a lot like me, which is you don't like a box. You don't like thinking inside of it. You don't like designing inside of it. So why would we put ourselves in that kind of situation? Of course, wouldn't it be better if we had all four of these teachers? I don't like choosing. Forced choice, it actually depends on my kid. I've got two kids who are third graders not that long ago. I would probably pick teacher B for one of them. I would probably pick teacher C for the other. But of course, I would really want to know the educators, but really, why do I have to choose? And that, in an essence, is the nut behind what we call the next education workforce, which is a brand of strategic school staffing. This is an emerging big idea. And it helps to address some of the hall of terrible statistics. We walk down the hall, right? Oh my God, like teachers, used to be these people that were revered. 1969, 75% of the families said that they would like their own child to become a teacher. Went up and down a little bit, but now those lines crossed in about 2018, such that now only 40% of the families in America would actually want their own child to be a teacher. 16% of the teachers themselves tell people, yo, don't come into the profession. Like, that's kind of broken. I work for a college of education. This is like not a helpful stat. Um, Speaking of colleges of education, declining enrollments, right? Dipping. The statistics are a little more complicated, but down about 30% over the last 10 years. I'm going to make a presenter's argument right here that many of these challenges that we face in education, to include these staffing challenges, but also I would make an argument to also include things like student performance, absenteeism, actually at their core, have something to do with the way that we have organized and designed our workforce. So buckle up. Here's the possible solution. This is not a new idea for people that are historians. You might have seen something like this in the 1960s, 70s. Educational historian Larry Cuban said that it shot across the educational sky like a comet, kind of disappeared. Of course, this is the idea of team teaching. I think of it as a paradigm shift in the way that we staff our schools. From essentially a teacher of record to a team of record. Okay, Brent, I'm following. Maybe I need a few more details here. Great. I think if we're serious about providing all kids with deeper and personalized learning, we've got to build teams of educators. Notice that I didn't say teachers there. Teams of educators with distributed expertise. And at the moment that we change the way we staff our schools, it allows us to empower educators in a different way. Different ways to enter the profession, different ways to specialize, different ways to advance. So now we're back to our third grade. This is the way that most schools in America and many schools around the world, but not all, are staffed in this egg crate model where there is a box called a classroom with 25 kids behind a door. You might have 100 kids shared across 4 different learning spaces, not even shared, they're just like egg crated. You might have a paraeducator that works in there. Now, here's the thing that kills me, people. This is what we expect each of those egg crated teachers to be great at. Literally everything and the exact same things. Anyone that would design a workforce with this as the key fundamental assumption with 3.5 million individuals in America is this bananas. It's like totally bananas. Like, why would we do this? So instead, like, let's start to relax the assumption that one person has to be all things to all kids at all times. And instead, let's start to organize our educators in terms of a team-based model. Now, you might say, oh, Brad, we already have teams. We have a third grade team. We have a PLC. We have a data team. It's not what we're getting at. There's something more rich here. So, okay, keep going, Brent. Break it down a little bit more. What does this look like in a day? So this is our egg crated model of schooling. One teacher with 25 dots behind a closed door. And those dots basically stay that way all day long. This is third grade. Looks different in high school. Now, I moved us into a next education workforce paradigm just then. You didn't even see it. Maybe what you saw was that the teacher changed the color of her shirt. We have a lead teacher now. Doesn't have to happen, but now we move into our math block. And the number one thing that I would say, hey, like, what do you see in this picture? In the chat, Aaron Riley, O'Reilly is smiling at me. It's nice to have people smiling at you when you're presenting. What's going on here? Like, what's the thing that you notice? Oh, look, Nick, mixed groups, Liz, you're a professional at this. Yeah, Jessica, thank you. Yeah, right. It's obvious. Like the colored dots are different. They don't look like this all day long. Okay, so stay with me. This is just the math block. Now it's 9 to 9:45, common team planning time. Number one answer on the board, Brent, why does team teaching fail? Because we did not give the teachers time to collaborate. Top answer on the board. So maybe the students have left with the paraeducator. They're at specials, they're art, PE, doing something else. And those educators have 45 minutes uninterrupted every day to plan together. Now, let's keep going. It's the reading block. Check out what happens. Bottom right. That's our most sophisticated teacher on the team, a lead teacher. This lead teacher is with the fewest number of kiddos. Why do they do that? I don't know. They better have a strategy. Like, we empower educators with autonomy in new and exciting ways. Those could be our most vulnerable learners with respect to reading. It could be that they are also some of our most advanced learners with respect to reading. The cool thing here is that the educator team gets a chance to actually lean into A, their strengths, and B, a strategy for the way that we staff. Now, people often say, hey, Brent, and this was like the 1960s, open space design, right? Like these huge rooms, lots of people teaching, cacophony. Sometimes we actually have some version of that, but it lasts for like 20 minutes. You might be, a whole team meeting, team and family, we're like trying to figure out, a solution to anti-bullying on the playground. We're all coming together. Maybe we're launching a unit of study together. Here's a classic co-teaching model for science from 12 to 1. We might have a flexible wall that can retract here in the top space. You've got a lot of kids there. This notion of 25 to 1, a student teacher ratio, like, oh my God, people, like, that's like, it doesn't make sense in this model because all we're doing is flexing the ratios all day long. Of course, this does look different in secondary. And I would say that what I just showed you, I'm from New Mexico. It's kind of the, I don't know, 2 chili pepper version. Here's 3 chili peppers. We might have a lead teacher. We might have a couple of other certified teachers. They're distributing their expertise. They're specializing, but maybe not like creating disciplinary elementary school, right? Like you still could all still be teaching reading and science, but people might be taking a priority in planning for some of that content, making the job more manageable. Maybe we've got some AI and we've hired a couple of different in partnership with an organization like City or a couple of student success coaches. We might have project-based mentors from the community who are coming in as part of this. Maybe they cost, maybe they don't cost. Maybe you've got a partnership with a local high school. High school students are coming into the elementary. You get the point. Maybe a paraeducator's been upskilled as a digital learning facilitator. If you have a high enough number of students with special needs in the mix in the middle there, this special educator can be a full-time member of the team. Let's talk about universal design for learning for a second. And also, can we start paying our student teachers? Here's a paid student resident and a whole bunch of other people along the side. It turns out that this is all possible at cost. We've done the math. You could download the report off of our website. So, hey, Brent, like, can you just break this down for me? Like at its most simple, if we want better outcomes for kids and better outcomes for educators, what do we need to do? We need to, simply put, have the same educators sharing the same group of kids during the same temporal block of time, right? Like if you can get this equation happening, you can do a whole bunch. It unlocks huge degrees of innovative freedom. So given that we're hanging out with Fielding here, and given that I've got nothing but mad respect for them and the work that they do, thinking about really strategically physical space, and people have come to this hopefully as a mixture of people with expertise in learning and people with expertise in architecture and physical space and design. how's this going to change? If we started moving in the direction of team-based staffing models, what impact does that have in our physical space? Here's what I'd say right out of the gate. Space matters immensely, full stop, like exclamation point. And proximity matters. We need educators who are on a team be close to one another. We need more flexibility in our learning spaces. We need to be moving and easily moving to this idea of shared ownership or shared responsibility, this notion of my room with my name on it and my bookshelf. Like, what? Come on, people. Right. Design 39. I don't know if Joe or anyone else from that school is on the call today, but this idea of no nesting. I was like really taken by that concept, like teachers nesting in particular learning spaces and filling it with their stuff, as opposed to letting the kids really start to populate that learning space. Really cool. And then what we're finding in these models is that the whole building suddenly becomes really the learning space. And when designed with intentionality, you're opening up like a hallway suddenly as part of the learning experience. But what if it didn't look like a straight shot down, like some sort of like, rectangle with a bunch of squares inside of it? There's more things that are way more interesting. Um, and so we've been thinking about space specifically in sort of along a continuum. Level one is like literally people just put the educators next to each other. Level two, you can invest in some lower cost, changes to furniture, equipment, minor construction, maybe pop some doors in some walls between adjoining classrooms. Level three, just a little more major construction. You might take a whole wall out. Uh, and then level four, back to the larger point there, is if you pass the bond, you're going to build a school. I would challenge us not to build a box with a bunch of boxes inside. We've got a resource here. I'll put these links in a second, or Dara. I think I saw Dara from our team pop onto this call. Dara, if you want to drop links to this, and that'd be awesome. If not, I'll get them when people go into breakout. So we've been thinking about this. We've been writing about this. We'd love to collaborate with others on this larger idea. Let me just get super concrete in my last minute. Here's Westwood High School. It's a large comprehensive high school. They've gone teaming in the ninth grade. There's about 150 kids shared by 5 educators. This is a level one example. They literally just put those educators next to each other in this. Well, first of all, they made all the ninth grade in one building, which was like bananas. It blew people's minds. And then instead of organizing by subject, and then these 4 classrooms, that's a team. And one team actually has access to a large learning space with these accordion walls. It's one of the most coveted spaces in this level one school. Stevenson Elementary down the road from Westwood High School. What we find there, this is a level two. Here's their educator team. They've got a lead teacher, 3 certified educators, and some other people in the mix. About 100 kids. And when you go into those learning spaces, there used to be 4 classrooms, kind of on they were external facing doors, 4 classrooms on a square basically, and they punched between all these rooms this 12K double glass door that they can open or they can have closed, and it just fundamentally changed the way that people interacted with the space. Again, the 4 teachers on the team, or 5 teachers on the team, sharing this kind of what used to be 4 classrooms. Now we think of it as one learning space. They've also made some really significant modifications to the furniture, such that they have different kind of zones and that they can flex the kids and use the zones differently. None of this space is surprising for people that have been thinking about space. What I would leave us with, and we have a whole appendix set of slides, so when I send these to you, you're going to get all the goodies. What I would say is just that if you have a new space, I am humbled by how hard it is to just snap your fingers and be like, teaming is awesome. Just go start teaming, people. Yeah, we gave you this beautiful space. Just go use it. It turns out that we've just got so many years and every episode of Abbott Elementary and whatever else that we're watching is just further ingraining us into this perspective of the one teacher, one classroom model. And so at ASU, we've been at this for about 5-6 years. We're working with a couple hundred schools in 50 school systems, 17 states, and we provide direct technical assistance and support to them. We've got a ton of resources online. We're trying to build a movement of people that want to think about staffing schools in a different way, and we think that we might have, and based on some of the people in this room that I know already, some allies in this work. And so it is a pleasure to be able to share this with you. You're going to get a chance to I think talk in small groups, and then we're going to have Q&A at the end. I'm going to tee up all the links so you get these slides and the other sweet resources right here. Back over to you, Nathan.
All right, Brent, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And I think you hit such an important point there at the end that it's not if you build it, they will come. Like you really need to do the work with the teachers to shift that paradigm from, hey, I've been working alone for the most of my career with students to we're a team and we're going to work together to do this in support of our students. So huge shift. All right, folks. We are going to go to a very short breakout, about 10, 12 minutes. And in it, when you go there, Janet, you're going to send us out. It's just what did you hear? What did you like? What did you wonder? All right. Welcome back, everyone. I just had a wonderful breakout. Brent was in there, but I'm actually going to call out Amanda Tomlinson. I want you to just very quickly share where are you right now, and what are you doing? It's an amazing example of the power of team teaching. Amanda, you want to come on and share?
Okay, it's Nicholson, but you're good.
Sorry.
You're fine. I am actually working in our commons area while my group is behind me. The door is shut, but I have peeked in there many times to tell them stop with the 6-7. I'm also right across from my coworkers whose doors are also open, and I can see them, they can see and hear me, and so that's why it's a little noisy. I apologize. Yeah, my boss is on here telling me to get to work. So I'd like to say I'm multitasking here, buddy.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda. You are a great example of the power of teaming and space. So, all right, learning designers, I want to hear what wonderings came up in your group. Can somebody come on and share? FI team?
So we had several great musings. One of them is for Brent about how are schools reacting to the opportunity for lots of quality instructional time in the situation of student teaching, but also the speed at which onboarding new teachers occurs and like seeing the quality of practice increase. Is this teaming model actually showing benefits in those areas, or any reactions or reflections that you have to that?
Yeah. Most common misperception of our work potentially is that, oh, yeah, you're at the Mary Lou Fulton College for Teaching and Learning Innovation, usually Lou Fulton Teachers College at Arizona State University. And so you're thinking all the time about student teachers and all this. And the reality is yes, we are, but our work is really focused. We're lucky enough to be working in the K-12 space primarily. Now, all of that said, we are seeing this is a fantastically better way to enter the profession. For anyone who is ever a first-year teacher, you know that that's one of the most challenging periods of time for anyone on the planet. And what we're finding is that some of our teachers, like their or pre-service teachers, are looking in December like they typically look in May when they're in team-based models. This cloning experiment that we call student teaching is something that we're not practicing anymore because what we're finding, right, is that instead of having one mentor teacher, which again, thanks for going on a unicorn hunt with me, that we can stop that and start saying, yes, there's a quote unquote teacher that is, filling out the paperwork, but really you're getting mentorship from all of the educators on the team. And the at-bats that the educators are getting, pre-service educators, when they're a member of a team, you're immediately as a team thinking about who are all of the people who can be playing a significant role in coming together to help our young people learn, grow, develop. And the answer is, like, if you're guarding a stapler in the back of the room, that's not going to fly, people. You've got to get to work. So it's also putting pressure on our teacher prep program to make sure that any graduate of our program or that's moving into student teaching can take on significant work as a member of a team. Hannah Reeder from App State Lab School is on this call too. She probably has a word or two of interesting advice here, I would guess, as well, or in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. You know, it's interesting with our student teachers. We're finding once we orient them to the model, that we have to really help them understand the model and kind of change their mindset. And that's one of the things that we were talking about in our group. But once they understand that and jump right in, they have a much stronger experience in student teaching than they do in the more traditional places because they're co-teaching. They're working alongside that teacher, but they have a team of teachers with different teaching styles, ways that they handle classroom management, all those things, although they're all operating under a set of norms and expectations across that team. And so, yeah, we've seen a lot of success and it's been really helpful.
I'm seeing this question from Janet in the chat. Um, how do you help empower all educators and not just have teachers divert to lead teacher and assistant teacher? Well, I would say that, the the working definition of a next education workforce team, think of us as a model um, within this larger umbrella, under this larger umbrella of strategic school staffing, um, that that our models say that we have at least two professional educators sharing a common and often larger roster of kids during the same period of time. Um, in our experience, when you drift north of two and you start talking about three or four or five teachers, there's something just inherently different about the personal dynamics. One, they're more complicated, clearly, because you got more people in the mix, but also you aren't as likely to default into that lead and assist sort of role. There's different ways of co-teaching, but I'm finding the more interesting models are those that are slightly larger, three, four, five educators on a team sharing a roster of kids. And in our secondary models, like in our middle schools, high schools, what we're finding, right, is that there it'd be super weird if you gave up your content area expertise, although some people have drifted in that direction. And you start thinking about the various superpowers and the ways that you can integrate content in new and exciting ways. That interdisciplinarity is something that reigns. That project and problem-based learning can take on a new flavor. That you can have voice and choice in the way that you're selecting your demonstrations of learning, and that you can have educators on that team, hopefully an interdisciplinary project, take on responsibility for different sorts of assessment types. I mean, it's like the coolest thing about all of this is that it um, I believe unlocks degrees of innovative freedom. And that the more educators, there's probably some upper carrying capacity where it's like 12 teachers too many, 8 teachers too many. But like you get more than a couple, and I think that you gain degrees of innovative freedom. And that makes my heart beat quickly.
Yeah. Brent, there's a question in the chat related to more of a secondary focus. How might it be different than an elementary focus? And also, I know we have a couple of authors, Nick and Aaron, who just wrote a book about teaming. Feel free to chime into that question too around collaborative teaching at the high school level.
Yeah, I'll start and then people should jump in here. So I think that it is inherently different. And I think that in some ways I just drifted into part of the answer just now, thinking about the most interesting examples in secondary really are around interdisciplinarity, project problem-based learning. And I was a high school, nationally board certified national high school science teacher, biology, chemistry, physics, physical science. And boy, would I have not what I wouldn't have given to have to pick up those frog trays like after 55 minutes. And so even if I had a team of say 3 or 4 teachers with whom I were collaborating, like even if I don't drift into interdisciplinarity, like if this is about teacher empowerment, this is about autonomy over time, space, and schedule, grouping and regrouping of kids. And in those dissection days, I would have definitely gotten with my team and I would have said, hey, let's double block science, right? And so instead of having 55 minutes, let's have 100. And what we see is that the schools, secondary schools that are furthest along in this work, they have literally turned the bells off, right? Because the educator teams are empowered because again, this is where the equation is helpful. Same kids, same teachers, same block of time. When that's true, then you can do a whole bunch of really creative and cool things.
Nick or Aaron, anything you want to add to that?
I think just echoing that, I see one of the questions about the IB programming, but I think that if you have strong teachers that you can partner with, right? So yeah, my background social studies, so having those strong teachers that you can partner with, where you can do those, where you can work with that flexible scheduling, even if it's not the whole school, but it's you and those other teachers deciding on how you're going to work creatively with your time allotted with your students, and then working with your leadership to be able to maybe get those back to back to back, depending on whatever you're doing. But I think that it becomes really successful, regardless of whether it's AP, IB, or just general coursework. I've seen it and experienced it done really well, just because, we want to work with our English teachers and we want to get our students to have, stronger and background, in whatever historical relevance is happening with maybe some literature that they're working with. I think that I've seen some of the strongest unit plans when I have interdisciplinary folks working with one another in their methods courses, and then thinking about how they might partner together to use and plan for different elements to really kind of practice this. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Thanks, Aaron. One question that's got several upvotes. Oh, Nick, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think Aaron and Mara and I, in writing the book, discovered that a lot of successful teaching teams did small experiments early. They didn't try to map out the next 4 years. They said, what do we do in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And how do we learn from each other in real time alongside of all the other young people or community partners who come in to join us, and then step back and say, what did we learn? And what might we do differently? And just getting in that mode of small experiments that grow into something bigger can really give people confidence for working effectively as a team.
And I think that answer addresses Sarah Melton. You had asked a question earlier around space really matters, but what about people who don't have the space? I think that point on kind of the micro steps to get there, that can be done in any environment. It's really, really good. There's several upvotes to, are universities other than ASU teaching teachers to work collaboratively? It seems like teachers should be entering the workplace with this mindset. So do you know are you a pioneer in this? Are there others who you're kind of championing it with, or are you on an island?
Nathan, I lost audio there for a second, but what's the nut of the question? Something about
are there other universities besides Arizona State University that are really big into team teaching model?
So we do co-teaching.
Well, Hannah Reeder at App State on the call,
yes, and Aaron, I think you started talking. So Appalachian State University, we're doing a lot of this work, and kind of that's what I said in the chat there. If we're going to reimagine what school looks like and our expectations for teachers, we have to reimagine what educator prep looks like. And so how do we teach pre-service teachers changing some of those mindsets, not being so territorial, moving away from that one teacher, one classroom model? How do we make sure they fully understand all the co-teaching models, what it means to be part of a team? Yes, there are lots of universities. I will say it is a growing thing, and it's a big focus and something that we're all working towards, and are trying to get more people on board. But the more schools we have that are moving to these models, the easier it is for us to convince educator prep to think differently.
Yeah. So we have an Arizona State and we have an Appalachian State. I see a pattern here. Do you have to be an ASU to do this work?
Yeah, Akron State's also working on this. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
But University of St. Thomas, University of Illinois, we've got friends at the San Joaquin Teachers College in the Central Valley of California. We're finding more and more and more people around the country, exactly to Hannah's point, are interested in thinking differently about the way that they're preparing educators and the sorts of models. We're working to build a cohort, likely, where we would bring together school system partners along with their higher ed partner to come out, site visit. Seeing this work in action is we cannot underemphasize, or overemphasize enough the power of seeing this work live and in person. And so the more places that we have around the country that are embracing a team-based approach to teaching and learning, I think it's the sea change that we need in order to move into a, you know, if the pandemic taught us a couple of things. One, it's just that people don't want to be alone,
Yeah.
right? Full stop. And that they're constantly also asking for more flexibility. And when I think about my job as a teacher, it was incredibly isolating, and I didn't even need to keep a calendar because I knew what I was doing for 180 days a year, basically from, 8 to 5 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
No variation.
Yep. That's such a great point about being able to see it. And I saw a lot of head nods during that. Like the moment that you see this model in action, it's like, oh yeah, like it's profound. And one thing that I'll tease at the very end of this call in about 12 minutes, Mike is going to tell you about an opportunity through the Global Learning Commons for the 2026 site visit with Fielding. So tease that up. If you have any questions right now, please drop them in the chat or upvote others. I have one. I see, what has Arizona State University found to be the most profound strategic levers that need to move to shift district level thinking around these models?
Uh, this is, I think, was some of Nick's point, um, right? Which is, it starts small. I mean, we're finding that this is not in our experience, not a top-down district level initiative. Have I sufficiently? Oh, I'm still live. Great. Yeah, here we are. So, yeah, it's not a top-down district level initiative. It's something that often starts small with a coalition of excited educators. This is done with, not to, educators and communities, and that what we find when that happens is that educators talk, families talk, uh, and that it starts to put some more pressure on the school system to think about, okay, like this could be something. Now, of course, having system level support really helpful. So a few top answers on the board to answer the question directly are like, yeah, you have to make the case that again, that teaming is a means, not an end. That school systems have a whole set of strategic priorities, a strategic plan. The question is can a different way of organizing our workforce, which is 85% or north of that of our budget, if we use and mobilize our educator workforce differently, might we actually stand to get even better results? So one, there's a case make about like this is not another initiative. This is a change in the operating system of the way that we do schools. And that allows, I think, us to stand a better and more fighting chance to accomplish some of the things we've already set out to do. Second thing, this cannot blow up your budget, people. It's just like we're working on razor thin margins right now. And so if you're going to come in here and tell me, Brent, that this is going to cost me, a bajillion dollars, I'm not here for it. And so help me to see how this is actually cost neutral to cost positive, because things like if you retain your teachers for an additional year, like that's really helpful, really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Brent, I think that's a great point. I think
what I would say is
Brent, I think that initiative fatigue is really good, that this is not just another thing. This is a whole new model and a whole new paradigm. And if we can move towards this, the benefits that there's a question in the chat around what are some of the data that you have. I want you to get to that. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was, Alka, Joshi Hansen has a great book called Future is Smart, and she talks about how there's so many things that we've just tried to tack on and tack on and tack on to our existing system. You just speak a little bit to like why this isn't that. I know you just started getting into that.
Yeah, I'll start with the data question. In the bonus slides of the deck, there's some high-level outcomes there. Our website, which Dara thinks, if you drop our web in here, you can look at more results, but we're unapologetic about results for both educators and results and outcomes for young learners. What I would say on the educator side, this is a study recently conducted by Richard Ingersoll and Mary Lasky at Serpy and some others. suggests that we're seeing plus 13 percentage point increases in teacher retention. Um, for our rookie teachers, teachers in years 1, 2, 3, we're seeing plus 9 percentage point increases for our most advanced teachers, those that are leading the teams. We're seeing educator satisfaction way up. We're seeing educator efficacy. Those even controlling for prior teacher eval. What we're finding is that they're like plus 22% percentage points more likely to be in the highest rated tiers of the teacher eval systems. We think that teaming allows educators to do their work better. In terms of our young learners, we're seeing, about a month and a half's worth of additional reading growth for young learners. We're seeing plus 7 to 9 percentage point increases in Algebra 1 passing rates, that critical course. Interestingly, like we're not seeing huge differences in attendance yet. Um, I wonder how it interacts with the germ theory of disease. Like having more kids intermixing might actually, we're seeing no difference. It's not negative. We're seeing no difference. And teacher Liz, you're exactly right. Teacher attendance is actually up. They're taking a couple fewer days a year of absentee because I think they're just mentally healthier. And sorry, Nathan, remind me what was the second question?
Just around the idea that we've done so many things to tack on something to
Yep.
our former system, and just how you address it. This is not that.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that this for those people that like Liz City and Richard Elmore, I mean, this is like right at the instructional core.
Yeah.
And I really do think of it as changing the operating system. And in some ways, if the instructional core is this interaction between teachers and students and content, what we're doing is we're just increasing the number of vertices in that triangle, I think in really interesting ways. I really do think that this does allow us to do many of the things that we've set out to do, whether that be the science of reading or project problem-based learning in new, different, and I would argue much better ways.
Yeah. Nick makes a really important point. Maybe this solves the what is it? You can go to the bathroom when you need to. That's a great point.
Yep. Huge point. And Joe's point, I want to give light to Joe's point here. If anyone's been watching the Three Horizons or Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, kind of different versions of what schooling could and should be. If Horizon 1 is the models of yesteryear and Horizon 3 is sort of magical unicorn awesomeness around like student directed learning, and there's something in the interstitial. I do worry a little bit about when you just heard me chirp off all of these outcome measures. I worry a little bit about measuring a Horizon 2 plus 3 minus initiative with Horizon 1 metrics. So there is work for all of us to do collectively, and some people on this call I know are leading in this way. But to continue to push on what is the evidence base and what counts for evidence, and I think this is where AI actually can play a pretty profound role to help us to measure and report on things that are way more aligned to what we would typically throw up on a wall as a portrait of a graduate than something that is as pedestrian as I like reading and math, don't get me wrong, but as something as pedestrian as classically measured narrow representations of student learning.
All right. Well, thank you, Brent. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Mike Posthumus, who's going to take us home. Mike?
I don't know if I'm going to take anyone home here, but super excited to have everyone be a part of this call today. Brent, thank you for the incredible and engaging opportunity to work with you all, or to work with you, and to hear from you and hear from your team's perspective and from everybody else. Clearly, there's an amazing group of thinkers and leaders on this call, and yeah, it always warms my heart when we get to spend time with all of you doing this incredible work around the United States and the world today. So a couple things coming up on the horizon. Our next Global Learning Commons session is with Tyler Thigpen. If you're not familiar with Tyler. Really incredible, innovative guy, and is the founder and leader of the Forest School. And his conversation will really focus on student agency and action and just what it really means to think about engagement with young people in today's world. That's December 11th at 2 p.m. So QR codes there if you want to grab that with your cell phone. But if you're on your cell phone, links to all of these will be shared and sent following this meeting. So looking forward to also expanding the GLC. So invite your friends, tell your friends. If you're enjoying these types of conversations, be sure to extend to others. Nathan also previewed that our next school tour for this year is at Chappaqua Central School District in Chappaqua, New York. It will be March 26 and 27. This is when we bring people from our community together in space, in physical built environments to really understand the impact of learning environment on teaching practice. Chappaqua made a huge investment in STEAM and design facilities. So in this visit, I'm thinking we'll be able to spend time in both middle and high school environments, really unpacking what high quality design, STEM, and secondary learning environments look like for the future of learning. You see some of the images of some of even their elementary STEM environments that they designed flashing in the corner. We'd love to have you. We'd love for you to bring those superintendents, bring those educators, bring those thought leaders that you're working with to advocate for these types of environments and these types of models. And when we come together, it's one of the most profound professional learning experiences that people often have. And there are people on the call today that can probably attest to that. It matters so much when you get into these environments and see it in action. That being said, thank you for everyone for being here at Fielding. We also love the technical training, educator implementation side of this, but also the physical design side of this challenge. And we're excited to collaborate with all of you on the challenges that you're facing and the problems you're looking to solve in this world around collaborative, student-centered teaching and learning models. So look forward to working with each of you. Reach out if you want to follow up on this conversation, and we would love to team on this work together. So thanks again to Brent. Let's all give him a virtual and physical round of applause in the work that ASU is doing. A truly visionary and leadership role in this effort. And hopefully we'll see you all again very soon on December 11th.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Brent. Take care.